Hi, and welcome to this edition of Uncut, where we're taking a look at the life of Mimi Rogers. I'm Suzanne Senna, and today we're coming to you from Luna Park Restaurant and Nightclub in the heart of Los Angeles. It's a place where Hollywood's elite veterans might hang out, and a place where someone like Mimi Rogers might feel right at home. After all, she's one of the more versatile actors out there, having been in show business for almost 20 years.
I started working in '81.
What was the first big break?
What was I, 12?
Yeah. So you were a child actor.
My first job was my first big break. I was on the last 4 hours of the first season of Hill Street Blues.
And so began the multifaceted career of Mimi Rogers. She's done film, television, and has gone behind the camera as a producer. There are still those who tend to think of her solely as the ex-wife of Tom Cruise. They married in 1987 and divorced 3 years later. But Mimi's resume speaks for itself. She's worked hard and made a name for herself as an accomplished and well-rounded actress who enjoys not being in the spotlight.
When you're on location or you're shooting a movie, you're with the cast and the crew, and they tend to be a real regular group of people and a lot of fun. There's usually very few agents or executives or people like that around on the set. So I'm always curious how other people find it, because between working and having a family and having a child and the sort of infrastructure you have in your life, I don't see it that much.
But Hollywood has seen plenty of Mimi in movies like Someone to Watch Over Me with Tom Berenger and The Rapture.
It's a story about a woman who I play, Sharon, who, when we find in the beginning of the film, is very much kind of a lost soul and very spiritually empty and a lot of pain, and is at that point using sexual exploration as a way to try and feel alive.
Mimi has also played the loving mom in Far Away Home, The Adventures of Yellow Dog.
She's the mother, but she's also kind of this interesting woman who's well defined on the page, and there is something to actually play other than, here I am and I'm mom. So that, combined with how moving I found the story, I wanted to be part of it. I thought it was really classy and intelligent and the kind of family film that I want to go see.
Mimi spent a lot of time doing smaller, more independent movies.
Honestly, a lot of the more interesting work comes up in independent films. I don't have any bias against, commercial studio films, but I tend to go where the material is.
The material led her straight to Barbra Streisand's major motion picture, The Mirror Has Two Faces.
The whole film was a wonderful experience for me because it's not often I get cast in a comedic role to begin with. And what I really learned from Barbara was so much about comedy, because, obviously my instincts were good enough to get me the job, and she and I hit it off really well together. But whatever direction she gave me, she'd say faster, no, even faster, faster and louder, and I'd be like, oh gosh, and then I'd look at it and she was right every time that it played. It was always funnier the way that she had me do it.
Working with Miss Streisand was exciting enough, but the premiere of Mirror was something else altogether.
It's a big deal. It's a big movie. It's a Barbra Streisand movie. It's New York. It's Tavern on the Green. It's all dressed up, and it's been a lot of fun so far. It's very exciting.
The excitement didn't stop for Mimi, whose next comedic turn came in the film Austin Powers' International Man of Mystery.
I did a very fun sort of extended cameo as Mike Myers plays two characters in the film, Austin Powers and the evil Dr. Evil. And I play in the very first part of the film. It's the 1960s, and I'm his Emma Peelish sidekick, Mrs. Kensington.
Whether she's doing a tongue-in-cheek version of Diana Rigg on the big screen or a guest stint on the small screen, Mimi always makes her mark.
The week is great. It's a lot of fun. You come and rehearse everything. You don't have to, put on makeup or do anything with your hair or get dressed up. You just get to, fart around all day. It's been tremendously fun. I really like everybody here. And it's interesting. Comedy is hard. It's hard work. It doesn't just sort of happen, but it is a tremendous amount of fun.
Mimi also has fun behind the scenes as a producer.
There's a difference between being a creative producer and a line producer. A line producer is more in charge with putting all the physical elements of the shoot together. But as a creative producer, you're developing the screenplay, working through rewrites, working with a writer, giving notes. I was very much involved in finding and hiring the director. you're involved in the casting.
In front of the camera and behind the scenes, Mimi Rogers is one woman who knows what she wants, including the leading men she'd like to work with.
Daniel Day-Lewis. I long for him. But, you know, give me Jeff, give me Mel Gibson. There's a couple on my list.
Daniel Day-Lewis, Jeff Bridges, Mel Gibson. I'd say the woman has some pretty good taste. Still ahead on this edition of Uncut, Mimi talks space travel and gives us her idea of the perfect planet.
I think we land on a planet that has a really nice beach and ocean, and we probably have to swim a lot. It could happen.
Also coming up, Mimi shows us her boundaries.
I'll say, listen, you can do anything you want as long as it looks good. And if it looks good, I will.
Hi, and welcome back to this edition of Uncut, where we are taking a close-up look at the life of Mimi Rogers. I'm Suzanne Senna. Now, Mimi is a self-proclaimed fan of science fiction, and she's gotten a chance to combine that passion with her love of acting in some very high-profile projects.
My character's name is Diana Fowley, and she's also an FBI agent. She's been stationed overseas for a number of years, and has recently been reassigned back in the States.
X marks the spot for Mimi Rogers when she does a guest spot on The X-Files. Mimi's longtime friend David Duchovny told her about the role.
David and I have talked over the years, and I always said, listen, if there's something, fun, call me. I'll come do it. So they called.
Is she a friend or foe of Mulder? No one really knows, maybe not even Mimi.
There's not a whole lot I can say about that, except that they do have a past, and she shows up on this case unexpectedly, at least as far as Fox and Scully are concerned.
Mimi reveals a whole lot more about her other sci-fi project, the movie remake of the TV show Lost in Space.
Actually, science oddly enough, was an area that I actually did well in school, and when I was young, I actually thought that I might end up being either a geologist or an astronomer or something like that. So it actually was wonderful for me to be able to play a scientist.
The film blew moviegoers away, and Mimi as well.
I couldn't get over just how visually stunning the film is. I mean, to me, the concern is always, does it work dramatically? Does the story work? Are you entertained? Does it work from A to B to Z? And I really think it did.
Mimi not only loved the visuals of the film, she also enjoyed playing the strong character Maureen Robinson turned out to be.
That's why I loved it. I mean, I read the script, and it's not just Maureen. How about the women in this movie? I mean, we are a kick-ass bunch of babes. It's great.
The movie did its own fair share of kicking. Lost in Space dethroned Titanic from the #1 spot at the box office in its opening week.
There's enough pressure in just wanting your movie to open well and be successful. And then, it's like, who thought you'd be worrying about a movie that had come out in December? And, we sort of, every week we would keep waiting for the Titanic to go down, and it didn't. And it was like, well, it's a great opportunity if we do it. So we did, and we were happy.
Fans of Lost in Space were happy when they got to meet Mimi Rogers up close during an appearance at a home video convention.
Well, it's kind of great because they are people who are going to be buying the movie, and they really like the movie. So that's really gratifying. As a film actor, you don't get that much opportunity to, encounter the audience and sort of hear firsthand how they felt about it. So it's exciting, and I think it's also promising for the kind of success the movie will have on video. The thing I like about it, because this has happened with a number of my films over my career, is that the video gives you a chance to find a whole new audience. You get the people who did see it theatrically, but you get so many more people who have an opportunity to discover it and like it. So the life of the film just continues.
The success of Lost in Space has been so big, there's talk of a sequel. Mimi has her own ideas of what that should be like.
I think we land on a planet that has a really nice beach and ocean, and we probably have to swim a lot. It could happen. I think if there is a sequel, we actually will go outside. Try to do a completely different look from the way this film went. I think that would be the idea, is each film would have a completely different look and feel to it.
As for space travel in real life, Mimi's not so